There is a part of me that cannot believe this is still an ongoing saga in college football. There's another part of me that tells that first part of me, Spencer, stop being stupid. Everything is insane nowadays. And then that first part of me goes, oh yeah, you're right. Everything is totally insane. So Jaden Rashada was once a 5-star quarterback, borderline 5-star quarterback. You see it however you like. There is an ongoing lawsuit against Billy Napier and the University of Florida over NIL payments that were promised but never made. So he committed to Miami. He then flipped to Florida. Then the NIL situation required him to, in his view, back out of his national letter of intent. He was granted that release. He went to Arizona State. He did not start as a true freshman. He was not going to win the job. And so then he, going into his second year, transferred to Georgia. And then over at Georgia decided, no, I'm not going to play here either because they've got Gunnar Stockton and some other candidates. He's in the transfer portal. That is his career trajectory. It is the poster child for why the NCAA's rollout of the name, image, and likeness, whether you approve of players having NIL earning potential or not, it was messy. He is the picture perfect example of why this went wrong, and you allowed too many people with poor motivations to get involved in college athletics. And there are already plenty, but it opened the door for even more. So it's just one example of several that are out there with regards to NIL payments that weren't made. But the reason I bring him up on today's show is he's in the transfer portal. He still has the same physical gifts. He hasn't suffered major injuries or anything like that. He could still develop into a college quarterback, as crazy as that sounds. But reportedly, one of the schools he's considering is Tulane. Now, if you think everything I have told you in this segment so far is crazy, and boy, that's a weird offseason football story, allow me to introduce the story of TJ Finley, who has been to, I think, every single conference in college football in his time, maybe even every school at some point or another. He's been at Texas State, LSU, Auburn. I think there was a Western Kentucky in there. Anyway, he came into Tulane this offseason, ever the journeyman that he is. The plan, it seems, is he's going to be Tulane's starting quarterback. This is a program that beat USC in the Cotton Bowl several years ago and enters every year, even when they did the handoff from Willie Fritz to John Sumrall at the head coaching position. The expectation was still, hey, you should be able to win games. Hey, you should be a really good program. And indeed, that's what they've been, because John Sumrall, it turns out, really good coach. Remember that name? He's going to be a Power 4 head coach one day. It's a matter of if, or it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. But will it be after this year? I don't know. That depends on how a number of things go down. Because TJ Finley was arrested and charged in connection to an alleged car theft, of which his lawyer argues that he was the victim of an online scam and there was a change of a license plate and whatnot. You can go read about it. There are news reports down there in the New Orleans area. So I see this and go, wait a minute. That interest in Jaden Rashada, are you telling me that could be for a starting quarterback spot? Maybe not. Maybe not, because their battle last year that Darian Mensah ended up winning, remember, that's Duke's quarterback now, who's getting about $4 million a year to be the Blue Devils signal caller. He is over there. That creates a void, but he emerged amidst a couple of other guys, someone who was a little more veteran, Ty Thompson, another former 5-star recruit who is, by the way, since converted to tight end. This is all just college football, man. What are you going to do? How could you not love it or at least be interested by it? So they are reportedly one of the teams considering bringing in Jaden Rashada. And it could be on an emergency basis. I tell you what, my head will physically, all right, metaphorically, explode if somehow next year Jaden Rashada throws a touchdown to tight end Ty Thompson. That's apparently possible. Now, Rashada's looking at other places as well. Western Kentucky and UConn. Now, the interesting thing about those two schools is not Western Kentucky. Apologies to the Hilltoppers. They have great uniforms and a great mascot over there in Conference USA. UConn could be a backdoor way for Jaden Rashada to get his way back into the Power Four. It really could. It really could. You may be wondering and asking yourself, Spencer, how on earth is that possible? Well, UConn's head coach is Jim Mora Jr. He has turned around a program that, as you may know, is known for basketball, not football. They are an FBS independent, and they could be a Big 12 team one day. It's not out of the realm of possibility. I don't think that's on the horizon. But Jim Mora wanting to reascend, he was once the head coach at UCLA. His desire to ascend back to the Power Four ranks, entirely feasible. If he were to bring in Jaden Rashada and go out and have another good season, UConn won 8-9 games last year. If Mora then were to become a highly sought after veteran coaching candidate, which he's popped up on more than a couple of coaching circle lists over the last couple of years, if he pops up and ends up finding a job there, then guess what? Maybe he takes Jaden Rashada with him, who I believe has could have up to 4 years of eligibility left. He could be playing quarterback by the time he's 26. He was a class of 2023 recruit, but he played in 3 games at Arizona State. So this is why this is so fascinating to me. That Tulane is looking at, this is one of the highest high-end G5 football brands in America. Year in and year out, you will see them get tossed around as a G5 playoff contender. I don't expect that to go away. They continue to make good hires. They've started to invest more in their athletics department and in their football program. The results have seen that. They have benefited from that. And so if they were to go out and get Rashada because Finley, who was suspended indefinitely until the situation works itself out, isn't able to play, that would be one of the most entertaining storylines. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just a college football sicko who has followed this kid since I first interviewed him in Vegas many, many years ago, back in 2023 at an OT7 tournament, and have just tracked his career everywhere that it has gone. If he winds up starting at Tulane, that's an outside possibility. He could be a depth piece. It could be a long-term play for Tulane. But if he winds up playing there and starting at quarterback, I'm telling you, my interest in that would be through the roof. I mean, through the roof. But if you were Tulane looking around at your transfer portal options, would that be the best one you could find? Maybe. We'll see what the quarterback market is like in the spring window. It tends to not be super abundant. Other positions, sure. Quarterback? Not as much. Rashada in his career has played 3 games. He's only won 1 of them. I was actually on the visiting radio call for that game that he has logged down as a victory. The other 2 games that he's played in, he lost. But in those 3 games that he played for Arizona State, 54% completion, 485 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks, and a passer rating of 112.1. What does that tell us about him? Not a whole heck of a lot. There isn't a huge sample size out there. So the upside, if you were to look at his recruiting profile, and if you'd watched him throw the ball in high school, you knew he was one of the most talented arms coming out of the class of 2023. Top 5-10 quarterback, depending on where you look. That talent is still in there. The physical gifts and abilities are still there. But if ever there was a guy who needs a veteran coach, I think UConn would be a great place for him, because you'd be out of the limelight a little bit. You'd have a veteran coach who could just settle things down and give you some stability, at least for a year. That's what he would need. But this continues to be one of the wildest stories in college football in the last couple of years that doesn't go away, because I admire that he still even wants to play college football. I think a lot of people at this point would say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. This is too much of a headache. No, he clearly loves football that much. So I give him props, and I tell you what, I'm rooting for him to find a place and thrive. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time, and until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.